Hello, my name is Lyndon Burford. I am a co-founder of Path Collective, and it is a pleasure to be joining you today for the Sustainable Blockchain Summit 2023. So in this short video, I'm going to run you through a few ideas about how we can think about Web3 and using Web3 tools to address nuclear threats and harms. So a quick bit of background. Path Collective is a mission-driven startup working at the intersection of Web3 and humanitarian approaches to nuclear disarmament. Myself, I'm a visiting researcher at King's College in London, where I've written about blockchain in nuclear disarmament verification. I'm also the new technologies research lead for a consortium called Horizon 2045, which is looking at intersectional ways to address the poly crisis with a particular focus on eliminating nuclear weapons. So in this video, I'm going to be running through three basic things. The first is the bad nuclear news, which isn't generally on people's radar on Web3, but there you go. The second is good crypto news. And then the third is an invitation to Web3 builders to work with us to help to address nuclear threats and harms. So, starting with the bad news. Well, the bad nuclear news comes in the context of the poly crisis that I'm sure you're all well aware of. We're in a climate emergency. We face the threat of global ecological collapse. The post-World War II global order is really unraveling. There are biological threats and pandemic threats, and the invasion of Ukraine has reminded us that we still face the threat of predatory nuclear armed states and the threat of nuclear war. What is it about nuclear weapons that we're thinking through? Well, what's at stake is that the nuclear weapons systems are actively built to prevent cooperation. They create international enmity, they create alienation and distrust, and these are exactly the things that we need to be moving past if we're going to achieve cooperation to address the climate crisis, for example. So nuclear weapon systems are actually the most radically centralized, heavily censored and opaque and unaccountable systems on Earth. So, for example, surveys show that young people in Europe and the United States are not unaware of the nuclear threat. It's just that they feel they have zero agency to make an effect on nuclear policy, so they choose not to engage, which is a rational response given that they feel like they have no agency. So when you hear about a system that is radically centralized, opaque, and unaccountable, what tools do we have to address that? Well, we believe that Web3 speaks to all of these issues, and therefore it should be a part of the solution. So at Path Collective, we're imagining a safe, secure, Web3 powered world. Now, we're not utopian. This is a world where conflict still exists, but ideally the threat of great power war and the threat of an existential nuclear war do not exist. In this world, power is decentralized and governance is localized. In this world, cooperation is incentivized and elevated over competition. And in this world, human and planetary security have supplanted national security. So this is a world, in effect, where peace is profitable. Now, of course, peace is much more than the absence of war, and profit is not merely financial. It could be social, political, security related, a bunch of other values. But the goal is to make peace profitable so that everyone is incentivized to work towards it. So what might that look like in practice? Well, at Path Collective, we're imagining a global operating system for the 22nd century that consists of, for example, a global mesh network of sensors based on land, at sea, in the air, and in space, and that these would be multi-sensor units. So, for example, monitoring air quality, water quality, temperature, pressure, but also signatures that are relevant to large-scale military activity and nuclear weapons programs. So, nuclear and military signatures like isotopic matter and particulate matter in the air. So, why is this useful? Well, when countries are considering reducing their nuclear arsenals, they don't trust each other, so they use a thing called verification, which I'm sure you've heard about in Web3. In the nuclear context, verification means using national technical means to verify that your adversaries are keeping their commitments and are not secretly stockpiling or building nuclear weapons. So, traditionally, that's been done by nation states, hence national technical means, but we believe that Web3 gives us the ability to think about transnational technical means, and really to create a global community of citizen scientists who provide what's known as societal verification. Now, societal verification until now has been little more than a pipe dream in the nuclear world, but it's rapidly becoming a feasible option thanks to Web3 technologies and remote sensing technologies. So we're imagining a public permission blockchain collecting signals from all of these sources to enable states to verify that their adversaries are not building nuclear weapons, and therefore to make it more feasible to achieve the renunciation of nuclear weapons. We're imagining centralized licensing for these devices, but decentralized ownership. So think of the Helium model for decentralized Wi-Fi, for example. And we're also imagining crypto-based incentives. So what would it look like to have a peace coin that operates, for example, similar to the way that the carbon coin would operate in Kim Stanley Robinson's classic kind of sci-fi novel, Ministry for the Future. So as I said, the goal is to make peace profitable. Now, how can you help us to work for this vision? Well, our invitation to Web3 builders is across a range of different areas. So the first would be creative collaborations. So Path Collective is working to build relationships with Web3 and other artists and musicians with a view to building community, incentivizing cooperation, and using blockchain-based digital assets also to raise funds. The second thing is that you could donate crypto already to nuclear nonprofits. A great example would be the Plowshares Fund, which accepts crypto donations at Crypto for Charity. The third is, if you want to dig deeper into the connections between Web3 and the nuclear weapons systems and the ways that Web3 could help us to address nuclear threats, join us at Path Collective. We have a bespoke workshop where we can run through this stuff in more detail with you, dig into the details, and really get collaborative about where we have synergies and could work with you and build solutions that support all of our shared goals and values. And then finally, there's an open invitation to help us to start not just to imagine, but to prototype decentralized security applications and hardware. And so we're looking for funding and collaborators to work towards that vision as well. So if any of this is of interest, I welcome you to reach out to me at Lyndon at pathcollective.org, and I hope to hear from you soon. To everyone at the Sustainable Blockchain Summit, thank you for your work, and I look forward to engaging more.